Hello, beautiful friends. I'm out in my herb room rummaging for seeds. I am slightly embarrassed to even bring you guys in here because it is madness. However, I am looking for some sprouting seeds because I'm going to start microgreens today. I've done videos in the past. I'll link them up here. Kind of like this 3-step process, but I really kind of wanted to put this all into one video for you guys. So this will be over the course of a few days. You'll see some footage, just a really comprehensive guide, and then a really cool thing I want to share with you guys. So these are actually sprouting seeds. We're going to take all this out to the greenhouse. I'll show you guys what I'm working with, what I'm using, what I recommend. Oh, wasabi mustard. I don't know that I'll be eating that, but I'll grow it for Nathan. I think this is all I needed. I've kind of just got seeds everywhere. It's kind of crazy. Okay, I've got my bowl full of sunshine here. Let's see if I can actually do this. A smart person would have taken multiple trips, but I don't always claim to do things the most efficient. It's something I'm working on. I already have my trays outside in the greenhouse that I'm going to be using. I've got my soil out there that I'm going to be using. Right now, let's just get there. All right, so first things first, what are microgreens, right? I know that this is something that some people have heard of, but a lot of people maybe don't know what microgreens are. They don't have them available in their stores. And essentially what microgreens are seeds that are grown. You harvest them when they're really small, and actually the vegetables have a lot more nutrients in them when you harvest them when they're small little sprouts. And so we like to do this and add to omelets, to garnish on dishes. We put them in our bagels, our sandwiches, our smoothies, and it's just like this really super nutrient dense food that is really, really good for you and super, super easy to grow. Now, one of the first things that come up when you start looking and searching out seeds is you will see sprouting seeds and then regular seeds. And so here I've got the Mums brand. This is Mums Organic Sprouting Seeds. And when you start to research on what does sprouting seeds mean and microgreen seeds mean, essentially they're the same thing. The difference is that sprouting seeds are typically grown in water, as to where a microgreen seed is intended to grow in some sort of soil medium. Now, you guys know I like to push the limits a little. So these Mums sprouting seeds I've grown in just like normal microgreens with soil, and they've worked really, really well. On here though, if you are buying this and maybe you're just wanting to do this in your kitchen or something like that, there is a lot of detailed instructions on here on how to soak them, how to rinse them, everything you need. From when you buy this bag, you will know exactly how to successfully sprout greens, which is something that I do really enjoy about Mums, is that they're just very, very detailed. What I have done in the past though is just bought bulk actual seeds, and that looks like Haas Tools has a Premium's green mix. This is 1/4 of a pound, and so I'll usually just go through, like, here's beets. I actually really enjoy beet microgreens. It adds a nice little flavor. They've got arugula. I bought the Southern giant curled mustard greens. A lot of different options. So if you are wanting to maybe dabble into microgreens, buying just a small seed packet of arugula isn't going to make sense. I know that Botanical Interest has microgreen packs, which is larger, because you want to be able to buy, you know, your seeds and it cover a tray well. And so in the past, I had grown my microgreens to sell them. So I was growing several trays a week, and that would look like, let me see. So I would be growing these big 10-20 flats, several of them of different mixes. And so if I were to just buy one seed pack of arugula, that's not even going to be enough to seed this one tray. And so that's when I started looking at bulk. Now, if you just want to try a small amount, today we're actually going to be starting microgreens in these smaller trays, which I'm going to show you. You could just buy a seed pack, but if it's something you're going to do often, you want to start thinking about your cost investment in it, and you want it to be worth your while, and you don't want to be spending a lot of money on seeds when you can get them cheaper in bulk. Another really cool thing about microgreens, you can grow them all all winter if you have some sort of rack and grow light setup. So typically you guys know what my herb room looks like. That's kind of the setup I would do when I was doing this through the winter months. Now that my greenhouse is amazing, it's kind of ideal out here for microgreens. So I'm going to be loading this bad boy up. Not going to be growing to sell at all. I'm just be growing for my family. Microgreens are something that in our area you're finally starting to see at the farmers market. And so I have been throwing in my little eco-friendly tips here and there. You guys have really enjoyed those, so thank you so much. And so I'm just going to keep on with this momentum and show you guys something really cool. So well, what I've always done is who I sold to required that the microgreens would be packaged in these clamshells. These are not cheap at all, and they had to have a label. So you guys can see here, we just had Whispering Willow Farm salad mix microgreens. This was kale, broccoli, and purple kohlrabi, and it was 2 ounces. And so I would package up, I think, around 10 of these, depending on what it was that I was growing. Around 7 to 10 of these per tray is what I was getting, I believe, if I remember correctly. Well, this is great, right? If you go into a store, packaging wise, it looks clean. You can see what they look like. Usually visually, that's always really appealing. However, if you're wanting to reduce waste, this is more than likely whoever's going to buy this is going to buy this and they're going to throw it away. And I was buying a lot of plastic that I didn't feel comfortable with. I was providing my community with a lot of plastic I didn't feel comfortable with. And so the really cool thing is BOOTSTRAP Farmer, I was getting this type of feedback from a lot of different farmers, and they're like, we need a good reusable option for microgreens for the farmers markets in particular. So they came out with these really cool shallow 5x5 trays. I've got the deep 5x5 trays, which you could also use microgreens for. I did like seed starting in here and stuff. So they just kind of revamped that, made them more shallow, and there's actually a humidity dome that'll go on top of this. And the idea is, I wasn't around during this time, but back in the day you used to be able to buy milk and they would bring you your jars back. And so the idea is that you would pay a deposit. You would take everything that would have come in this, and you have this perfectly packaged, you know, reusable set of microgreens, and then you bring it back to the farmer the next week when you come to buy your greens or whatever it is you're shopping for, and you get that off your next purchase. And the idea is to reuse. That's one of the reasons why I love BOOTSTRAP Farmer trays, is because they are higher quality, and so therefore they're lasting me a lot longer. I'm not going through plastic. I can reuse these year after year. And so we're actually going to start some trays in there. They also just came out with something really cool. It just got announced last week for release. They have their first set of trays made in the USA. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but that's really cool. This is something that they've been working really hard on. It's just such an honor to be partnered with a company that just does things so well. And they're one of those companies that does things so well. So they now have these microgreen 1020 flats with the holes, made in the USA, available. They also made you know, some adjustments to where now there's like this little notch in here, I guess if you will, to make it easier to lift up and out. So what I'm going to do today, this is just going to be kind of my structure. A bunch of these will fit in there. So we're going to do a bunch of different colors because that's what makes me happy. So you can get 8 of these 5x5 microgreen trays in one 1020 shallow flat. So if that kind of helps you for reference. I am still just going to be using the seed starting mix that I have. They're going to sprout so quickly that it's going to be okay. But I would just make sure you're getting a light fluffy soil medium to use. We've got our trays. Look at that color. That's what makes me happy right there. So much color. Alright, so now that I have the trays filled, I'm just going to water them really well, which is what I would also recommend you guys do. So So one of the things I really love about these small little trays is that instead of seeding an entire 10-20 flat with the same thing, I'm able to kind of diversify what I plant in here. So I'm gonna do a couple of the premium greens mix from Haas Tools, and then I'm gonna do a purple kohlrabi, I'm gonna do a broccoli. Now I kind of heavily seed these, and I'll have to make sure I have some sort of airflow going on so there's no sort of like fungus stuff happening. But you guys saw I just went over the soil a couple times. I've got my tray here. You can get super scientific about this. When I was selling, I was a little bit more tedious on using like so many tablespoons per tray. This is just for me and Nathan and the kids, so it's not like, this isn't really a super scientific thing for me. I'm just heavily seeding. Alright, you guys see all those little seeds? Now I'm gonna just not do anything. I'm gonna leave it just like that, and then I'm gonna water them in. I really will. I'm probably gonna go ahead and do 2 trays with this. And since I'm not actually selling these either, I won't be marking them. If that's something that you wanna know, I can kind of just know because I've grown these in the past. When they come up, I'll be able to know what it is that they are. Alright, you guys kind of also saw that I just was using my finger as I noticed that they were kind of overcrowded in some places. I just kind of spread it out. Now we're just going to water this again really well. I'll probably go over it about 4 or 5 times. So now that we have seeded the tray and watered it, we're actually going to take another 10-20 tray and lay on top of it. I do this when I'm planting my entire 10-20 flats as well. I stack them, and the reason why I do that is to, you guys can see what it looks like, and then I'm actually going to add weight. So I've just got these bricks here. That's what I'm going to use. I'm going to put them on either side. I'm just going to weigh it down just like that. And the reason that I do that is because it is keeping those seeds in place with the moisture, and so they're not ever coming up out of that. They're just kind of staying pressed down in there, and I found that germination is a lot better when I do that. I would like to maybe in the future, especially with these, I would like to do some where I just left them open and didn't put an additional tray on top and any sort of weight and see how the germination is. But I do know in the past when I was just seeding my 10-20 flats, when I didn't do this, I had a lot of problems with seeds not sticking to the soil and actually starting to develop roots. And then my germination was kind of all over the place. So this kind of just ensures that everything stays in place and does really well. So it is important that you make sure you water really, really well, because I let it stay like this right here in this stage until I start seeing sprouts. Now I am using the 10-20 flats with holes, so I'm able to see little sprouts start coming through. If you're growing something like pea shoots that get a bit bigger, they'll actually start coming through the sides, and you'll be able to see it. Trust me, that was one of those things I was like, well, how am I gonna know? So just make sure that it's soaked really, really well. Add some additional weight and support, pretty easy, and then we'll just check back in a few days and see where we are. What's up, friends? I wanted to take you guys and show you the progress of the microgreens. You guys know this video is going to be a collage of several days thrown together just to kind of show you guys the full process. All of my seeds have sprouted and germinated, and so now we're moving on to the next step, which I'm pretty excited to show y'all. Alright, the greenhouse is starting to get empty because things are making their way out into the garden. So y'all knew we started these. Now I'm just going to remove the bricks off of them. Alright, so not all of them have germinated, and that could be because they just need some more water, but most of them look like this right here. So what I am going to do is take the ones that have germinated, And I'm gonna put them on another tray, and we're gonna go ahead and move them out in here, leave them out in here. It is pretty hot right now. So it is 85 degrees in here. So obviously since I'm outside and it's hot, I could do these right here, or I'm just gonna use the table since I've been moving them off. If you're inside in a rack, this is when you would just put them under your lights. These are actually still pretty wet. I can just tell by feeling them. So I'll come back and check on them at the end of the day. But right now I'm not going to water them. And then when I do water them, I'll put them in another 1020 flat that doesn't have holes, and I will bottom water them because I don't want any type of disease and stuff like that. Look at there. So even though all of these didn't germinate, I'm still gonna put them over here. I think it'll be fun. All right, look at those things. So now what I'm going to do is let them just sit there and bake and grow. Usually, and it really does depend on the variety of sprouts that you're buying, like pea shoots, it's like 4 or 5 days. I've got pretty big pea shoots where I can harvest. Obviously, if I let them go longer, but typically I'm gonna let these go 4 to 5 days depending on the size, which I will kind of show you guys time lapse throughout the next few days as they are growing. But it really is so simple to grow microgreens, so nutritious. When we have microgreens or we buy them from the store or the farmer's market, we use them every single day. They really are so versatile, and so I want to give you guys some practical, helpful ways that you can use them. So we will stay tuned and wait for the growth. What's up, friends? We are on day 4. We're on day 4 of our microgreen journey, and I'm really wanting to kind of wrap up this video and give it to you guys. And I have just grabbed a tray of microgreens, and I really want to kind of talk through this process with you guys. So you guys can see here, this looks really good. We're starting to have some roots come out here, which is really nice. Now, I will not be harvesting at this size. I am going to let these get a bit bigger, but you guys can see, since seeding them, I'm on day 4, and we already have a lot of growth, which is really exciting because it is super, super fast to grow out microgreens. It's something you can do no matter where you're living at. You don't have to be restricted if you have a smaller space. Now, I will probably let this go the full 7 days because right now, as you guys can see, there is growth. However, these are not really established, and so you want them to get a bit bigger. That way you're just getting the most out of this, right? Because if you're growing, let's say, a pea shoots in 7 days can get pretty tall, especially if you have them under some sort of grow light. And that's one of the things I just love about microgreens is it's so quick, and it's also so versatile. You're not limited if you don't have space. You can do this, you know, in your windowsill. You can do this on some sort of rack with just a small, inexpensive grow light. And so I do think it's a really good option if you're wanting to get a lot of nutrients into your diet, into what you're eating, you know, on a daily basis, and it's just really, really easy and quick to grow. So like I had mentioned, microgreens are packed full of nutrients. Most of the time, they are very high in potassium, iron, zinc, magnesium, copper. Plus, they're also really rich in antioxidants, which is, you know, super beneficial stuff that we're wanting to try to add back into our diet as well. Now, I've mentioned earlier in this video that this is full of nutrients. Since their nutrient content is so concentrated, that often means that they'll be containing a higher level of those vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants as, you know, equivalent to a mature green. So when you think about being able to grow this out, the time you can do it in, getting all those high amounts of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and it was so quick versus growing, you know, a big mature leafy green out, a lot of times this makes sense, especially, you know, I'm drinking a green smoothie almost every single day, whether I'm adding that in as a snack. Sometimes today it's my breakfast because I've got a lot of stuff going on. And so being able to harvest one of these, throw all that in, and knowing all the nutrients I'm getting in my breakfast, I feel really good about it. So this is probably one of the main things I use my microgreens in is my smoothies, my kids' smoothies. Also, when we're making eggs, we're throwing that in there. If we have any sort of, you know, burger or sandwich that we're eating, we're throwing them in there. You really can garnish and use them for anything. You can throw them on a salad. Most of the time, the taste isn't just so pungent. You know, depending on what you're growing, beets have a really nice flavor. Obviously, that wasabi mustard, that's gonna have a little bit of a kick. Arugula will have a little bit of a kick. but you can garnish it on your soups, you can do anything. And when you're blending it in a smoothie like this, you're really not noticing the flavor a whole lot, but you're getting a whole lot of the nutrients that come in it. So my hope was that this was a pretty comprehensive guide and just kind of showed you guys the process of starting microgreens. I hope this encouraged you that if you're wanting to grow food and maybe you're limited on space, or maybe you're just wanting to add some more, you know, vitamins and minerals and nutrients into your diet, that this is a really easy way to do this. Now I will link all of the trays that I'm using. My good friends at Bootstrap Farmer sent these to me, so thank you very much, Bootstrap. Love working with them. But these are the 5x5 shallow mesh trays. They come in all these beautiful colors. Make sure you go grab them and grab some of their USA made 1020 flats and go follow them and just support them. We love what they're doing. We also just really love the opportunity to rally and partner with a company that we feel like is doing it right. And like I mentioned, Bootstrap is one of those that we feel proud to be able to work with them and support what their business is doing. So you guys go check them out. The links will be down in the description for all of these. I hope you guys have fun starting microgreens and let me know how it turns out. But thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll talk to you soon.